Hi there, and welcome to episode 1 of our podcast, I guess. We're going to be talking primarily about the convention and cosplay scene, mostly within the GTA and surrounding area. I'm Pat, and I've been going to conventions and cosplaying for maybe like 5 years now. I've also been a videographer for a bunch of that time. I've got a YouTube channel called Linkspeaks and a Facebook page that I'll link in the description of this video, and I'm going to be your host. Also on our panel, we have Mars.
Hi, my name's Mars. I've been a cosplayer for about 5-6 years now, but I am turned into a videographer, cosplay videographer, and I run a YouTube channel called Red Planet Productions.
I'm Rachel. I'm also known as Rayny Cosplay in the cosplay community, and I've been going to conventions for about 9 years and also working at them for about 4 or 5 years now.
Hey, I'm John, and I've been going to conventions for about 4 years, and I don't cosplay, and I just kind of hang around and go to room parties at night.
So you're one of those. Yeah.
No comment.
Okay. Well, to start off, what's in the news right now, as we're recording this, is the Booth Babe sort of controversy thing that's happening because PAX banned booth models.
And this is really blowing up. I've seen it all over my Facebook.
Can we get that news story up right now?
Well, essentially, like the lowdown on the story is that a couple of years ago, PAX had a community poll about booth babes, and they wanted to see what their audience thought about them, and they really wanted them to be more convention staff where they knew about the product instead of just being a sexy body. And so just a couple days ago, PAX and E3 have put in place bans on booth babes, so essentially not sexually explicit outfits. There's kind of a rule about even convention, like just booth staff. You can't have anything 4 inches above the knee.
Which I just find ridiculous. Like, just imagining a con staff with, like, some measuring tape measuring, like, a skirt of a booth babe to say, like, oh, this is a...
It's like we're going to a Catholic school or something.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I went to a Catholic school, and there was actually a 4-inch rule for the girls with their kilts, and that just... Like, it makes sense if you're going to a Catholic school, but this is a convention where there's nerds and, you know, regular people that just want to have fun. I didn't think that it would be a big deal.
It's pretty crazy. One of the exceptions to the rule is if a game is going to have booth staff with some sort of very sexually revealing costume, it has to be okayed by the convention. So, and if it is true to source content, so... but that has its own limitations
Which is a good
as well.
rule. That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so, like, if I was cosplaying, let's say, some sort of unlockable outfit from Lollipop Chainsaw, okay?
I knew you were going to say
So
that.
it's, like, really sexy. Then is that allowed?
Well, if you're cosplaying as a convention goer, that's totally fine. There's no ban on convention goers, well, other than, you know, the nude bodysuits. I think there's always been that kind of thing, but I'm not really sure on the PAX and E3 rules. But if you are convention staff, booth babes, or booth personnel, you are not allowed.
Well, then no booth babes anymore anyway, right?
Well,
So-
you are allowed to be a booth babe as long as your costume is not revealing.
Right. Let's back up for a second. The word booth babes just means like something to like attract, like to like pleasant to the eyes, right? And then to like maybe attract someone to go to the booth to talk to someone who is actually knowledgeable about the game.
I think you could still...
It's not like car. It's like kind of like those car models.
Shows.
Yeah,
Car shows. Those are booth
but they
babes,
obviously
I think.
don't know anything about the cars.
And actually,
No.
it's
Think.
interesting, in China, in Shanghai, about a month ago, there was a huge ban on booth babes at
Really?
Chinese car conventions.
So the point is, if you're cosplaying, you're not working, they don't care. But if you're working, you have to know about the product that you're representing, and you cannot wear sexy things.
I think that's a distinction that needs
Is
to
that
be...
correct?
Well, yeah, there's a...
This is important.
I think there's a difference between a booth babe and a booth, like, model, like, because...
Well, not model, but like just a person that you can talk to, right?
I've seen booths where they have, like, legit cosplayers working for them, promoting the game, and they're
Do
not
they
like,
know anything about the game?
I don't know. I didn't like ask or anything. I just
See,
those are the type of-
that would be considered a booth
Yeah,
babe, right?
those are the types of people that work at those booths. Like they're there for fans to take pictures with them or to post for pictures. But most people will go to the actual staff.
See,
at the booth
here's
to
my problem with
ask.
it. They need to be like not a hypocrite and be consistent, because like either they could have like no booth babes, which means like it doesn't matter if you're sexy, like if you're dressed as like a sexy costume or not. If you don't know anything about the game and you are standing and standing next to the booth and representing the company, if you don't know anything about the game, you're considered to be a booth babe. Okay, so either they ban that completely, so like no one who is not knowledgeable about the game, like cannot be at, representing the game, or they, I guess, don't ban them at all.
But
You see what I'm saying? Like if I'm
Yeah.
cosplaying from someone like, let's say like Link from, Zelda. Okay,
yeah,
that's obviously not like a sexy costume, right? But if it's someone that doesn't know anything about the game, then I would consider that to be a booth babe as
Essentially,
well.
if you're
So
working
should
for a
ban that
company,
then.
you should know about the company.
Yeah, so either ban all of them or don't ban them at all. Don't just ban the sexy ones.
I have a similar case where always in the Eaton Center, Nintendo is constantly there promoting new games when new games are out, and sometimes they have live demonstrations of like the Wii U if the newest came out. And I remember once used for Skyward Sword a really, really long time ago, and they have like about 4 or 5 guys, just walking around, make sure everyone's having fun, they know how to use the controller and whatnot. And I remember just asking one like, just a question about the game. I can't remember what it was. Like, oh, so is Ganondorf the villain in this game, or who is? And his response was, I don't know. They just hired me because I'm friendly. But like he meant that he knew nothing about the game apart from how to control like the tutorial stage, which kind of like threw me off a bit as like a fan. That like if you're demonstrating a game, you should know something about it.
So you are, I guess, for the sake of the argument, you're pro banning booth babes? Because
Yeah,
I guess
I'd say
that
so.
guy could kind of be considered to be a booth babe, right?
Yeah, I guess he was
In a
more of a
sense.
like representative
Yeah.
than a
Because
babe.
he's only hired, according to him, he's hired
because he was friendly. Yeah, and he just gave me a huge smile.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
I think what people take issue with is like the more like sexually dressed models that are there just to draw people in, even though they have no knowledge of it. I don't think I really have a problem with like a cosplayer that's hired by the company.
And they don't
like,
know anything about the game. You're okay with
yeah,
that?
because I don't think it's
But-
their job to know anything.
But
There's
you need
staff
to
working
be
there.
that's what I'm saying. You need to be consistent. Either ban all of them or don't ban them
But-
at all. You can't just ban the sexy ones.
Are they being hired because they have a costume already of that series? In which case, we have another argument
Well,
where
we
if you're
don't know-
cosplaying something, should you
The
know about the
point
We
series?
is
don't know
that
that.
you are hiring some people that don't know anything about the game, and you don't hire some people that don't know anything about the game. So you need to be consistent.
Just going here, I think it does like travel through other realms, because I know as a convention staff, I've worked with PAX Prime, Gen Con, Indie, for Wizards of the Coast as an independent contractor, and often I have mostly male customers come to me in the booth and ask whether or not I actually know about the game, just because I'm the only female in the booth. And it's a bit offensive because I am hired because I do know about the game and I am there to promote something that I do love and enjoy.
And
But-
are you allowed to say what companies you're working for or what games?
It's Wizards of the Coast, particularly for Magic, Kaijudo, as
Magic
well as
the Gathering.
Dungeons and Dragons. Yes, Magic the Gathering. But I know when I have traveled through the conventions, I have found other female booth representatives, and often they are booth babes in the true sense, where they are not even cosplaying; they are just wearing a very tight T-shirt with the logo of the product they're
Yeah.
promoting, just handing out flyers, and they're just more of a physical draw to the booth, because hey, there's a girl and she's handing out something to me for free and with a smiling face. And I think that since the male population is pretty high at a convention, that it's kind of it is a very useful draw tool. So I think it's a very interesting way to ban.
So
Booth babes
if
in
they were to make a law that say booth babes are allowed, but only if they are knowledgeable in the particular product, like how do you
Then-
think they could test that out? Like would they
then
just
they're
be
not
like
even.
quizzing
I
every
wouldn't even
single
call
one?
them booth.
This is a
babes at that
convention
point.
by convention sort of thing. Like it's not going to be a wide-reaching thing. It's just now it's PAX and E3. It might end up being like a San Diego Comic-Con sort of thing. We don't know, but they're the big conventions that are starting off first, and the small independent ones, they don't have to follow any of these rules. It's just whichever convention decides to do it. But there is one exception to this that I wanted to point out. You mentioned Nintendo, and they do have a cosplayer that I'm trying not to name drop, but you'll know who I'm talking about
Yeah,
when
I
I
do.
say it. They do have a cosplayer that works for them, like on a contract basis whenever there's a symphony performance or anything. And even though I know this particular cosplayer knows everything about Zelda and everything,
Absolutely.
she's not allowed to talk.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you tried to ask her a question, she wouldn't say anything.
Is that
like,
just to remain in character, or even if she's dressing up as a character that could talk, would she still not be allowed?
It's a liability thing
I guess
because
she's representing Nintendo.
Yeah, she represents Nintendo, and she, like, even though she probably could answer the questions exceptionally, like, they want someone that is on their payroll that knows everything about it and
That's
is
fair, yeah.
good with PR.
Well, hold on. No, I have no problem with like booth babes or like no booth babes. I don't really care either way. All I'm saying is like I don't dislike them or prefer them. Okay, I'm like neutral. But all I'm saying is, as a convention, like I know they can have different rules for each one. That's fine. But as a convention, if you're gonna ban them, you need to ban all of them, not just the sexy ones. That's all I'm saying.
I just
yeah.
want to kind of put it in here that it wasn't a ban on booth babes. There was no wording of that in the mandate that went out. It was just a dress code update. It was your booth staff personnel, like no sexually revealing costumes unless it is true to source. And then again, those have to be checked with the convention if it's all right. And again, 4 inches above the knee. That was it. So it's not cosplay related. It's dress related. It's everything related. So I think
So
it's not a ban on booth babes.
They are banning. Yeah, fine, but they're banning the sexy ones.
There's no
You
word
can still
ban.
be sexy. I'm just
And be
saying.
a
They're
babe.
banning. Okay, but they are
without-
banning the what do you call it? Like the one
It's
that
just a
where
dress code. They're just saying
See-
it's not a ban on booth babes. You
It's
can
not.
still be a sexy character without showing
No,
off
no.
your cleavage.
That's what I was saying. I don't care if they ban booth babes. I'm just saying like don't make like arbitrary like rules as to like what's allowed and what's not. Just allow all of them or don't allow any of them.
But it's a
Like,
dress
I mean,
code.
obviously you can't be like naked. Like be reasonable,
know,
right? Be
But
reasonable.
They did. They put in a dress code. It's not a ban. It's a dress
See,
code. It's saying you have
But
to dress
that
a certain
rule
way.
is too like strict,
If I may,
in my opinion.
Rachel, that's very telling to me because that means that all this talk we've been having means that it's been blown out of proportion.
Yeah, I
It's
think
such a small thing, but that people are taking
point.
It's
sides
very
about
misleading because a few headlines I've seen is that PAX and E3 cons, like they're banning booth babes, but they're really just banning, really just implementing a new dress code. But like from the headlines I've seen on Facebook, it's like the fact that they're banning booth babes.
And I think it's just a lot of people on social media seeing these Kotaku
Yeah.
or these website headlines saying banning booth babes.
Not
oh my
reading
God.
into it and then
Whereas
just, like,
if you
putting out
actually
their-
read the statement, E3 I don't think has a statement right now, but PAX has a statement. And if you read their statement, it doesn't say anything about booth babes. It's just convention personnel.
Fair enough.
So.
I guess then
So
I
to
guess I
wrap it
changed
up,
my.
let's
like,
not all get up in arms about
Yeah,
this.
no,
It's not a
I
big
I
deal.
guess I just think like the rule is just too strict. Then I guess that
think
would be my.
just
But it doesn't matter in the
Look
end. I
forward to less cleavage and
I can't look
Panties.
forward
Get
to
that,
that.
get that from the actual cosplayers at the convention because
exactly. And
you don't need.
Yeah, I
booth
guess
babes
it's not a
if
big
you
deal.
wanna
Why are
see
we even
that.
talking about this? Jeez,
Yeah.
we just
Because
wasted
it's in the
everyone's
news.
time.
It's current and it's relevant
Yeah,
now.
no,
so
I'm-
now we have discussed it. Does anyone else have any other
No,
points?
I'm good.
Okay. Right. So what we're basically going to talk about from now on is con hotels. This is a big thing with going to conventions because if you book a convention and you don't have a hotel room, you're kind of effed. So
Hey,
everybody
I've been
where
doing
you
like
live?
5-6
I mean,
years
if
of
you,
photo
unless you
hotels and
live
I've been
right
okay.
next to the con,
Right.
yeah.
I
But
live in the con.
but this is the sort of thing like that comes up a lot because either you are going to enjoy the hotel experience or you're not. I mean, because there's a lot of gray area in between. But
Hotels are such a sore spot for me. Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
I mean,
I think hotel experience in relation to conventions also can change your hotel convention experience, because I know for a fact that they definitely have changed. Like if I had a shitty hotel, shitty convention.
It could really
so-
make or break the whole convention.
Yeah.
okay, well, just to start it off, because we are Toronto based and the largest convention in this area is Anime North. Anime North has a buttload of hotels, and I know that we've all stayed in a few of them.
And it's also,
So-
Anime North is very out of the way for everyone, so
Yeah.
pretty well everyone has
Yeah,
to stay in a
that makes
hotel.
sense.
Because it's right next to the airport, there's lots of hotels to
Yeah, near
choose
the airport.
from.
Yeah.
But I mean, does anyone have any preference? Like, Rachel, you've stayed at Anime North before, like, but has it only been the one hotel? Or?
I've stayed in a couple different hotels for Anime North. So I've stayed in the DoubleTree, also known as the International Plaza Hotel now. I've stayed in the Travelodge, and and for the most part, I've stayed in the Marriott, which is where I'm at this year. So
Is the Marriott like the one that's across the bridge and far
across the
away?
bridge beside Travelodge.
Okay.
So it's far away, but you know what? I think it's fine. I usually wear large cosplays, and it's just a $5 cab ride across the bridge. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
So, and also there's a fantastic restaurant called the Airport Cafe right across the street, and it is the best to go
That's
to
like the
convention
most
food.
generic name they could have came out with. Airport Cafe.
They have steak burgers in the morning, and it
Steak
is
burgers?
phenomenal. It's
Are they
so
actually
good.
made of like
It's like
ungrounded steak?
it's a
That's
steak- it's-
disgusting.
Why
It's-
haven't I heard
Why
this
is that
before?
disgusting?
That sounds
That
amazing.
would be so
it's
good.
so
If it's
good.
like tender,
and it,
like
Uh,
a sirloin sort of
just
thing.
saying, like Airport
I
Cafe.
doubt it is,
definitely
though.
try to make it there if you guys like want good food during the
You're
convention.
you're
and-
prejudging the meat, man.
I'm just
Well, then I don't have to take you there. so.
I'm just a shitlord.
Yeah.
But yeah, what about you guys? So I've said the hotels I've stayed in
Well,
for
how,
Anime North.
what do you like about it? Just
The Marriott, or about what? Or are we talking
Marriott,
about
sure, yeah. You said it was.
you,
the
I don't
best
think
one,
you
right?
you didn't really go deep.
Okay,
into
so-
Yeah, can you list the pros and cons? Like,
Yeah.
does it have Wi-Fi? Does it have a fridge?
How
how
the
much it
hotel
is.
staff?
Okay.
maybe?
So the thing is, with the Marriott, I've stayed there as long as I've been staff with Anime North, and that's just because my my staff, my position is the Moonlight Ball, and we host our event in the Marriott Hotel. So it's just really convenient, and that's the only reason I've stayed in the Marriott. It isn't. I wouldn't say that it's phenomenal in regards to hotel. We don't have a mini bar in the room. It's just 2 beds, really comfy, good service, I think, in regards to towels and shampoo and whatnot. But they're not, I think, again, with the amount of people they have in the hotel, we've never really been able to get a cot in the room if we needed another person sleeping over. But we've always been able to get extra blankets, extra pillows. But other than that, there's no pool in the hotel. To be honest, I can't remember if there's Wi-Fi. I've stayed there 5 times, and I can't remember if there's Wi-Fi or not, but I think there is. But it's an okay location. And actually, if you are a cosplayer or a photographer and looking for places to shoot, right outside there's these big cherry blossom trees, and it's
Oh.
really beautiful.
That's important.
Yeah,
because
there's no good
there's-
shooting
there's
spots.
no good
and,
shooting
yeah.
and it's a
places
really
there.
nice place to shoot. So
That's good.
just saying.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah.
else?
I haven't stayed at Anime North hotels that much because two separate years, my siblings got married. For some reason, the same weekend as Anime North.
It's a nice weekend, okay? Okay.
I guess so. Whatever. Anyways, I have stayed at the DoubleTree once, and I like the DoubleTree. Everyone says
I've heard bad things about it.
Yeah,
Just people
everyone
complain
has
how
heard-
it's old and stuff.
everyone's heard bad things. Like, personally, my experience was okay. Like, the year that I stayed there, that was like when they had introduced like a policy about how many people could get on the elevator or something like that. And we didn't get our on and off the elevator. There was no like policing about that. So I didn't have an issue with that. I liked having a pool in the hotel, and it was the same building as the panels too, so that was convenient. I mean, I didn't really go to any, but I like to be nearby, and it was a pretty nice hotel. And I don't remember how much it cost. I don't remember if there was Wi-Fi. I don't remember if there was a mini fridge. So, sure, I guess it was okay.
Yeah.
And I think I spent like one night at the Radisson once.
Yeah.
That one's the tough one to get into because it's so small, but it's like the best spot because it's like right next to the convention.
I would say Doubletree is, because that seems to be more in the heart of it, right?
That
I
intersection,
I
though.
think if you're looking to milk everything from the convention for what it's worth, Doubletree is where to stay
Yeah.
because you can
Yeah.
go to all the panels, all the late night anime showings, and then still go to your room.
But the Radisson is right next door to the Congress Center.
Yeah.
And you don't have to cross the intersection unless you want to see a panel or something. And then I haven't stayed at the Sheraton for Anime North, but I did for A-Pop once, and I really like that hotel because it's like it's a standard sort of hotel. It's pretty nice, but it is kind of far, and it's across the street. That street, I hate that street. The intersection, like on a Saturday afternoon at Anime North, they need cops there. I remember like a couple years ago there was like a car accident in that intersection.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of busy and dangerous, and
That's
I hate
like
it.
a staple experience of Anime North, though, is crossing that street.
Yeah, that's kind of, you haven't
Fear
been to
of
Anime
your
North
life.
unless you cross Dixon. But yeah, otherwise, I guess, yeah. I haven't been to any other hotels there, so.
Do you guys have any notable or infamous stories staying at Anime North with roommates?
I have a couple. Typically, since I've been a staff, and I've been a staff with all my friends on this Moonlight Ball, we've always loved each other. We hang out really good times, always. Maybe a little bit stuffed at points, but my roommates are always great. But I think maybe for the couple years I spent not staff as Anime North, it was often I was the den mother, and I had a lot of younger people in my room because I was in high school, and I ran the anime club, and there was all these like younger
wow.
like 13-year-olds and whatnot in my room, and it was just kind of monitoring them and making sure they didn't come back with creepy guys after
You were
going
like
to
a con
rave.
mom for them.
It was pretty awful, I think, in that respect, but I think other than that there hasn't been anything terrible.
That sucks, man, because like I don't babysit, and I don't need anyone to babysit me.
Yeah.
Even though sometimes you'll feel like they
Lone
should.
wolf.
What?
Lone wolf.
Yeah, like I don't babysit, and I don't want I
can understand
you
that.
don't I don't want someone to babysit me because I don't want to bother anyone, and I don't want anyone to bother me. So like if I'm rooming
Just
with
leave
someone,
me
I
alone,
don't
everyone.
I really don't care like what they do as long as they don't like
They don't
steal my
ruin your
stuff
time,
or like
yeah.
fuck my room up.
That's
They don't need to monitor me either. I can take care of myself, right?
that's one of the reasons I always make a point of getting my own key card, because I don't like to rely on anyone else to get into the room. I just want to come and go as I please. Maybe have a quiet room party, but I don't want to be the room that everybody is crowding into and trashing. I'd rather go to someone else's room and crowd and trash it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in regards to Anime North, I've never had a super, super terrible time in a room, and the past couple of years have been great because I love my roommates, and we all understand each other's needs in regards to room space, so.
Yeah. Have you, what is the most stuffed room you've stayed in?
I think it would have been 7 or 8 people in a 2 double bedroom. And
Wow, that's
That's not-
hardcore.
and
That's
that was
okay.
but
That's
to be,
what? That's not okay.
that was
Two
one
rooms?
night.
It's a 4-people room.
2 double bedrooms? But
No.
yeah, but there's
No, no.
floor space.
No, 2 double beds.
Two
Oh.
double beds.
No.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
four spaces.
And
Is
four
there
people.
any
And
space on the
It,
floor?
it was
What?
just because
Sleep in
what
the
had
bathtub.
happened is my one of the I was con momming,
Con mom.
and one of the girls in my room went to a rave and got we couldn't find her, and I was so fed up at
And
that
this
point.
is like
I
an
just
underage girl? Like,
yes, and I was like, okay, I can't worry about this anymore. I have to go back. And my wonderful friend, he stayed back and found her, and then had to drag her back to our room with another one of his friends, and then they just crashed in our room, and that was why we had so many people. But other than that, it's usually been about 5 people, I think.
So they didn't pay?
They brought her back safe and
Okay.
sound. I was like, you guys just crashed on the floor. That's
All
fine.
right, yeah.
I don't care. I'm
That's
so fed
nice.
up at this point.
Yeah. Mars, have you gotten
No,
any?
I'm the commuter myself.
Right.
Because
So-
I've lived in Toronto for quite a while, so it's about maybe like a 25, 30-minute drive.
I'm gonna stalk you.
Well, okay, so Toronto conventions, you don't need to stay at a hotel, but have you've stayed at a hotel before for a con,
Yeah,
right?
like I go traveling a lot, so I definitely have that experience. I have a family of 5, and we really love living on that budget. So we're kind of always room packing as it is. So I kind of understand that experience, like
Yeah.
having to get the rollaway bed or someone sleeping on the floor.
Do you feel like you're missing out on like half of the like convention experience for not staying in a hotel? Because like a lot of things happen like at the hotel.
Yeah,
It's
I
fun,
definitely do.
Parties.
There's like the con parties and whatnot, but I feel like I've gone into the routine where I'm always taking videos at conventions, and so as soon as I get home, I just have to upload my footage, and I'm just editing. And so, like, conventions now feel like a full-time job for me, where I really just don't have time to party anymore. Though I do totally think I'm missing out on a lot. Especially there's like overnight, like shows and whatnot, like gaming.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's since I've gotten older and more experienced convention-wise that I've started doing more of the late-night things and partying. And I think actually since I've met you guys and got involved in this little friend group.
Don't blame us.
That I've gone to more maybe
we're the
convention
cool kid she was waiting
parties.
for her whole life.
Oh yeah, part of the cool kid group.
Yeah.
Yes. But do you think maybe part of that like whole video thing is just because you feel a pressure as like a videographer, photographer, because all the people you've taken photos of are like, hey, where are my photos?
Definitely partially that, but the thing with convention videos that's a real struggle is that people only look for these videos 1 or 2 days after the convention.
Yeah.
After that, no one's looking for them. So either you upload it the day after the convention, or you just don't even bother because no one's going to care about it afterwards. And like whenever I shoot videos, I always get people's emails, so I could send them an email when it's done. And if I just leave it off, like I just feel bad, like I'm not going to deliver anything to them, so I just want to like get it over with, get it done.
What is it like being a cosplayer and commuting to a convention? Because I've never really made that long trek. So like I assume you take maybe the TTC or something.
Most of the time I could get a ride. Like I have friends in the city too that we just all like get a lift together.
Okay.
I've never had to commute myself to Anime North, luckily.
Okay.
So I've never had that experience, but I would imagine it would suck. But luckily, there's that new line that they're opening up that connects the subway, or there's like a GO train that goes
Oh, are
directly
you
to
talking
the
about the
airport.
Pearson Express?
Yeah.
That's expensive.
Mhm.
It's going to be like, I think if you have a Presto card, it's $19 each way.
Oh,
And
wow.
if you don't, it's like 27.
Yeah, usually airport like expresses are just expensive. It's just how they are.
But at least you'd be super quick, right?
Sure.
If
if you're
you wanna
coming
make
straight
that
from Union,
sacrifice.
yeah.
I guess
Hey.
it's more convenient because if you're carrying a lot of things, it's just one way.
It might be cheaper than a hotel too.
If
So-
you mentioned commuting for cosplayers, I actually have driven to Anime North in my Link cosplay. It's a
awesome.
bit surreal, especially if you have to stop for gas. So,
Well, at least you're not like in public eyes like the whole time, right?
I guess,
It's
but
just always
You don't
funny
have
having
tinted
someone like
windows.
look over in their car and seeing some dude with like elf ears on.
nothing to see
definitely-
here, sir.
You know
Yeah.
how fast you're going?
Oh my God! You know what? This is a bit unrelated, but I was going to a photo shoot at the Cheltenham Badlands, which is it's north of Brampton. It's like this place where it kind of looks like a desert, and it's in the
And
middle
the
of.
bumpy, right?
Yeah,
It's
you
all-
know, yeah.
I've been there.
So I was doing like a photo shoot there with a friend of ours, and I was dressed up as Link, and I was the driver too, and I was going up Cawthra Road, and I was speeding, I guess, because there was a cop that was beside me, and he had his loudspeaker on, and he was pointing at me, slow down. And I was like, wait, what? Oh God. And he was right next to me. I was like, hi, officer, I slowed down. It was kind of weird.
Did you get
because
pulled over at all?
No, I didn't get pulled over.
Oh, thank
he
God.
had like a loudspeaker
And
in
he
his.
just wanted you to slow down.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, I guess it was a school
Could you
zone or
imagine
something.
like someone cosplaying Sonic and like
Oh my
speeding
God.
on a highway
I
and getting
actually
a
just
ticket?
want to cosplay
Go
Sonic
fast.
Just for that joke.
Yeah.
It was Sanic.
Sanic, yeah.
Gotta go fast.
Hmm. So yeah, that's the commuting life. It's not too bad so long as you have someone to drive you there and back. But yeah, like you know, if I want to make the early morning stuff going on at Anime North, like I know like sometimes I wake up at like 5 in the morning to like, you know, if I'm cosplaying that day to do my makeup, get the cosplay ready and all that. So it kind of sucks in that
I
regard.
wake up at 5 in the morning regardless if I have a hotel or not. I'm just like, I gotta cosplay.
But I'm saving a whole bunch of money, so
Yeah,
that's kind of nice.
So what about other conventions in regards? So I know, Mars, did you go to Otakuthon this year?
No, I haven't gone yet.
Okay.
I'm not someone to commute that far.
Yeah, because I know the rest of us went.
Mhm.
Convention stories. How did you like your hotel?
I stayed at the Holiday Inn, which is like the one right next to, like, it's kitty corner to the convention center, and it's convenient. It's got a nice little Chinese garden in there, so it's pretty cool. And there's a
Good for photo
cool.
shoots.
Yeah, I didn't do a photo shoot in there.
Yeah,
but it was
I
nice.
saw the garden.
Yeah.
It looked really nice. Yeah.
The year prior, I stayed at I think it was like a travel lodge, like up the street from there, and I
the
guess
travel closet.
it was it.
What it's
I
called?
stayed in the travel lodge like 3 years ago, and it was it had 2 bunk beds, and it was the most cramped room I've ever been in.
Oh, yeah, the bunk bed one. No,
Travel
it
closet.
was that hotel. It was on like Rene Levesque Boulevard or something. But they screwed up my room, and we ended up getting a suite. So it was very nice. Yes, it had like a kitchenette and a nice bathroom. And
Damn.
yeah, it was,
How many people were sharing it?
Oh, 2 in the bed, 2 in the sofa. Yeah. Pull out
So 4
sofa.
people.
Yeah. So I guess it was 4, I think.
Yeah.
That's one of those places. It's further away from the convention center, and they're less tolerant to English speakers. So that's the thing about Montreal. Like, I guess it's okay there if you speak English, but anywhere else in Quebec, you better speak French, or else they're gonna give you the stink eye. That's the thing about Otakuthon. Even though I kind of like going there, I get a bit of a bad vibe from them just for speaking in English.
This year we stayed in like a really small no-name hotel, and it was pretty crappy. It was maybe
Was that the one like up the hill and
up the hill in the side
Pat-
of the wall?
Yeah, we didn't book until like
Last
way
minute.
later, so you know, all
Yeah.
things considered.
But, like we
It's good.
got a room. The price was good, and it had a kind of like continental breakfast, but it wasn't
Okay,
great.
is a continental breakfast like a muffin? And
Yeah, they had muffin
Yeah.
and tea. But hey,
Wow,
it had
least it's free.
Wi-Fi, so
Yeah.
No, they got a few choices for us, like
Oh, they had
muffin,
cereal, I
bread,
think.
and
Does
like
any
cereal,
of the
milk, coffee.
Anime North hotels carry continental breakfast?
I'm
That's
not
got to
sure.
be so many people.
I don't
Do you
think
they
so.
Don't
could
think so.
afford to
Because
do
like
that?
the good thing about continental breakfast is that you could just like keep some for later, so you have food for like
Well,
like a
actually,
little snack or
I've
something.
never done
I've
that
never
before.
done
You never
that.
done that?
No.
Am I just the only one living with an
Yeah,
Asian
yeah.
family that does that? That puts muffins
I
in
just
my pocket?
I like to buy a granola bar box
Yeah.
or like maybe a box of Pop Tarts or something, just so I
ramen.
can eat it throughout the week.
Actually, at
weekend.
AN in the DoubleTree Hotel, there are the rice
Onigiri.
balls, onigiris.
Yeah.
those are great.
That's probably my favorite thing
Those
to
are so
get.
good.
At Anime
Oh, you
North.
know what? The one time I went to the DoubleTree, while we were waiting in line to check in, there was a guy with like a basket of cookies, and he was just giving them out
my
to the
God.
people waiting in line. So
Oh.
that's another reason why I like DoubleTree. I don't know why everyone hates it so
Oh.
much.
I remember at the
Well, maybe
Marriott.
that's because they rebranded recently, right?
Yeah, they're the International Plaza or whatever.
I remember actually
Sorry.
at the Marriott last year they had I don't know if it was decorative, but they had like these little glass beautiful trays of apples, and I just like asked if I could have a couple, and they said sure, and then they just refilled it. So I think like they were for people, they just kind of were branded very beautifully. And also I totally remember they do have a pool. It's a really great pool. I don't know why I didn't remember until now. They have a pool and it's nice. And a really good hot tub.
I know. Every year I passively suggest we have a pool party, but no one ever goes for it.
It was actually really fun. I remember, like convention story from last year. We were in the hot tub, and there was these ladies there, and they were just asking us about the convention, and we told them, and they're like, "Oh, how fantastic! There's this a doctors convention happening at the same time." So we learned a couple things about them about drinking wine in regards to being lactose intolerant, and it was really crazy.
Wow.
But it was really fun.
Nice.
Just meeting different people. And I think that's one of my favorite things about kind of if you have to commute to a convention is always meeting people in a costume and their reactions and like
Absolutely.
their ideas about
Yeah.
like what's going on.
So you mentioned about like going the distance for a convention and going to hotels. I don't know. Am I the only one that's gone to American conventions here? You've gone to PAX, yeah. Okay. There's two conventions I go to in the States that aren't really that far from here. There's YomaCon, which is in Detroit, and Detroit obviously has a reputation. And I didn't actually experience anything bad about Detroit the first few years that I went. But this previous year, it happened to be Halloween that I showed up just because of the timing of the con. And if you've ever heard of the Insane Clown Posse, I don't know what they are. They're like a punk.
They
Rock,
are
rap.
a
Did they
rap
show
group.
up?
Yeah.
A rap hip hop.
They weren't at my
Oh,
hotel.
okay.
I was at like a motel that I had stayed at the previous 2 years, and it was like maybe like a kilometer walk from the hotel. It's a bit far from the convention. It's a bit far, but it's like cheap. So, and we got a suite, and it was like normal, like really cheap price. So it was good. But this year, just because it happened to line up with Halloween, they had a major Juggalo concert. Juggalos are their fans.
Yeah.
I don't know why they call themselves Juggalos, but because the Insane Clown Posse is like from Detroit, so every year they do a Halloween concert there, and the entire city is flooded with Juggalos. And on
What
Halloween,
do they look like?
Imagine the white trashiest of white trash.
If
Like,
you're listening, just Google images Juggalo. And,
Not
Yeah.
Juggalo, Juggalo.
Jiggle.
Juggalo. So, basically, we were pulling into the hotel. And we were like, my friend Andrew was checking in, I think, and we saw these cars coming through with all these Juggalos coming out and putting their bags in their rooms and everything, and we were like, oh God, are those Juggalos? Oh no, what? No, this can't be happening. And they were like in the suite next to us, and they were in like all the pretty much basically the whole hotel, the motel rather, was filled with them. And luckily we had there was also some sort of firefighters conference happening, so there's a few firefighters too. So they're not police or anything, so I don't know what they could have done, but we sort of felt a little bit safer. But
Well,
anyway,
To be
in case
fair,
they started a fire or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
well, to be fair, I don't know if we should judge them like that because
okay.
because as cosplayer, I'm not a cosplayer, but you guys are cosplayers, and you know how the quote unquote normal people will give you looks or
Yeah.
make fun of you.
That's a really
you don't
good
like
point.
that, right? So I
That's a
don't think
really,
we should
really
make
good
fun
point.
of the juggalos.
I understand what you're saying, Johnny. Let me finish. I don't have a completely negative thing to say about them, but the first night we stayed there, they didn't really bother us. It's just that they were loud late into the night. It was maybe 4:30 a.m. before they all sort of dissipated and went to bed. And it was just loud for us. They didn't cause damage or anything aside from that. And then they were also there the next night. But I don't think they stayed out as late. And we also ended up seeing just by the dumpster next to the building, there was a bunch of little air canisters because I guess they.
Whipped it.
I don't know what you do with the air canisters.
You whip it. You
What
turn
does
they?
that mean?
You turn it, and then you just basically get the gas out of it, and then you get high off of it.
I guess so.
That is
It's what
really
they do.
trashy. Oh my god.
Hey, you can't judge them, okay?
Oh
John,
shit.
remember?
You're right.
Yeah, sorry, John.
But
Yeah,
yes,
that's such a good point. When you said not to judge them, I was thinking in my head oh, I am definitely judging them. But then you brought up
Yeah.
that point. That's a really good point.
Oh yeah, you would have hated it there. I was trying to keep an open mind and not judge them too harshly, but they.
That's what I'm saying. They have us. They have fun in their own way, and if
I
they're
guess
not
so.
bothering you.
Yeah.
You know.
Then you know what happened though? The next night, they had moved out. They'd left. There was someone else that came into the room next to us, and they got hammered and left on some sort of church show on the highest volume, and it was in the middle of the night. And
Did you guys call to complain?
yeah, we did.
Okay,
I
good.
mean, it only helps so much. We called to complain, and they like the maid staff came up and opened the door, and apparently, like, I didn't witness this, but apparently what happened is the guy was like naked and
Oh my god.
crazy drunk, and he had some sort of church evangelical show on loud blasting. He didn't know what was going on, and all we could hear from the maid was like, please sir, I'm gonna need you to dress yourself before I can come into the room. And it was kind of hilarious, and that was the only time we'd ever had a problem with that place too. It just because Halloween happened to happen on the same weekend.
Spooky things happen.
Yeah.
on Halloween, I guess.
So after all these years of staying at hotels, at conventions, like, have you guys learned any really good tips or pieces of advice that you want to share with people?
I think book ahead of time. Like, don't wait to the last moment.
Yeah.
Also, many hotels, you can book with them and you don't have to put any money down until like a week before, maybe even the night before. So I think just booking, even if you don't know if you're going to be able to afford it with like the people you have then, because who knows, you might get other people into the room later on. And
Because everyone's always looking.
yeah. And I
yeah.
think also is just like bring your own food, because you don't want to rely on a continental breakfast or a mini bar. But yeah, I don't know. And generally be friendly with the hotel staff, because that pays off a lot.
I'd
think.
suggest knowing who you're rooming with. Like, it's really a crapshoot if you sort of room with strangers. The only time I've ever done that was at ColossalCon a couple years ago, and it was a really nice couple. They were so friendly. It's just the guy snored like a chainsaw. And, I mean, that wasn't really that bad.
And I think also if you are a cosplayer, know who you're rooming with and respect their space and have them respect yours, and like try to compliment each other in that regards, because I know one out of the 4 people I room with are cosplayers, and often they will help me get in my costume, or my friends from another room down the hall will help me get into a costume, but I'm waking up at 5 or 6 a.m. so I have to be quiet and like sneak around the room. So
That's a good point. Yeah.
And definitely in terms for Anime North, like, as soon as the convention's done, people are already booking for the
Oh.
next year hotels, and so they book out nearly instantly.
Yeah, especially the more like the ones that are close to the conventions, like let's say the Doubletree or the Radisson. Radisson.
yeah, book fast. And also, if you aren't able to afford a convention, a hotel room, or want a close hotel room, one way to go about it is volunteering with your con. Often, if you volunteer with Anime North, as example, you can get your hours back and as cash, or for a hotel room, and they'll put you in the the International Plaza Hotel. So and it also just helps support your convention.
And I think another important thing is to talk about like money. It's
Yeah.
like, for example, like how much you're paying, and if you're not staying, if for some reason you had to like book out early, are you still gonna pay for the whole weekend? That's
Yeah.
a really awkward thing to talk about, but you should talk about that beforehand.
There's always
Because
gonna
a lot of the times, like, you know, people would like, oh yeah, oh sure, I'll stay for the whole weekend, no problem. Here's $100, and then they'll be like going out to party, and then they would like be staying at someone else's room, and it's like, oh shit, I only stay here for one night, so $50, give me $50 back.
I think
no, it's
Really
not fair.
awkward.
Yeah.
Gotta talk about it beforehand. But if you didn't, well,
And if
tough,
you
tough
do
luck.
only stay one night, you have to find either someone else to cover, or you still have to pay for the full weekend.
But the
as you
thing is,
promised.
like, I don't care like how you do it, but you need to talk about that beforehand, right?
Yeah, I
Like,
think-
you know.
like in our experience, like what happened is one person stayed out 2 nights. They just got too drunk or whatever and stayed in another room, and then I guess I don't know what happened the next night, but they were like, hey, well, I didn't really stay at your room, so I don't really want to pay the whole
Yeah,
price.
the thing is, we didn't talk about that.
It's such a scumbag thing to do.
But,
Wow.
but the
Yeah.
thing is, fair enough, we didn't talk about that specific situation beforehand, and you know, at the time he was doing a lot of work for us, like as far as like driving and stuff goes.
Yeah.
So you know, I was okay with
Yeah, we were
like
able
giving
to find
him
like a half.
giving him like a a leeway for that. You know, let's just pay half of what you owe us,
On
or
the
whatever.
floor.
You know,
Definitely.
stuff like that. You know, so and he had the floor spot in the room. It's so many like different factors.
Yeah.
But the point is, it's so messy. Just talk about it beforehand.
Yeah, the thing is, hotel space, like that is the thing you're gonna spend the most on at a con. Well, unless you buy a lot of
You're
figures or
sleeping,
something. But
Oh,
yeah,
money,
I
you
find
mean.
that the most expensive part of convention is the hotel.
It's true.
And
Yeah.
you kind of want to be as comfortable as possible. I tend to only book with people that I know, and sometimes I like to be in charge, sometimes I like to delegate to someone that I can at least trust to manage it properly. But it, yeah, John's pointing to himself. I think that is such an important part. Like you can, a hotel experience can make or break your convention.
All right. Best convention experience, best hotel experiences, regardless of like maybe a hotel convention or not.
Okay.
Oh, I got a good one here.
You do?
For A-pop last year, best hotel experience I've ever had. For basically 2 reasons. Everyone paid me on time. I didn't lose any money. And one person that was staying at it's under my name, okay? That person got sick on like the Saturday, so that person had to like leave and go home. She still paid me the full amount. Okay, great. And then the other thing is, I don't think anyone was really cosplaying like anything like too big, so like I didn't have to babysit and be like, oh here, have you put on your costume? Oh, I'll follow you to the con and make sure you. No, I'm gonna go out and do my own thing. You can do your own thing. I don't care what you do.
Yeah.
And no one messed up the room. No one stole my things. Perfect.
Very perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
One of my favorite hotels to stay at is the one at Colossal Con. So if you don't know about Colossal Con, it's basically a hotel convention sort of resort in the middle of Ohio. It's in Sandusky. So that's where Cedar Point is, if you've ever heard of like all the roller coasters that are really big. So the Kalahari is like an African themed resort sort of thing. Like all the porters and staff there are wearing safari hats and costumes, and like there's a mini zoo and wild animals all over the place. And it also has a really big water park, and that's not anything to do with the convention, but I love the water park because it's amazing. And the hotel itself is actually really fancy, and it's very big, and it's not really near anything aside from like a Walmart, but it's one of my favorite hotels to stay at because it's really comfortable, fancy, nice, and it's got all the amenities you could need. It's like a small city basically inside this resort. Like you got all the food and drinks and fun you could possibly need without even going to the convention. So I'd suggest if anyone wants to go to an American con that's not too far away, go to Colossal Con because the hotel is amazing.
It also just seems like a really fun
It
convention
is.
as well.
It's super fun. I mean, actually, the convention is like, I wouldn't say it's like anything super like stellar about it, but the hotel adds to it so much, and that's just everyone's having fun because of how amazing the place is. That's just sort of what makes the convention so much fun. So I guess that's my favorite hotel to stay at. Anyone else?
Anything from Mars?
I don't know. I guess for better hotel experiences, it's just like the specific hotel that you're staying at, then what things that they offer. I stayed at a hotel in London, and it was a pretty pricey hotel, but like any hotel in London is really expensive, and it was definitely like
in London, Ontario, or England?
London, England.
Oh, okay.
And it was really, really modern. Like everything looked like it was like a hotel that you would see pictures of online and be like, oh, that's really cool. Like they even, one thing about traveling abroad is that the outlets are different, and so you either had to get a converter, but the converters don't work with everything. It's just really annoying. They not only did they have regular outlets, but they had also USB outlets like everywhere in the room, so you could charge like anything you wanted. They also had freshly baked cookies that were being baked like every 20 minutes in the lobby that you could just ask like the person at the front to like for some cookies. They had because it was London, of course. They had like a tea station on the second floor where you just like make your own tea just like
Hey,
anytime
that's
you want.
offensive. They don't all drink tea.
Wait a second. When you say the outlets thing, they had American outlets?
It was
Like
a USB. So USB is like universal, right?
Yeah.
So
No,
you could plug in like
no,
phones?
she said like regular, as in like
London.
European.
Yeah,
You're
European.
Standard.
like British.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they didn't have like American style.
No.
Okay.
When she said standard, you assumed it was American? How dare you?
I guess. Well, you just said regular style. Yeah. Okay. So that's. But
They had a
did
tea
you have
time
like a
lounge?
converter? Did it work with?
Yeah, well, it was my first time using a converter, and like the converters work for phones, which didn't really matter because they had USB plugs, but it wouldn't work for my DS. So my
Oh,
DS, which sucked
no.
because when you're in London, you could street pass not only people from London, but so many other tourists too,
Yeah.
right? And so I had about like one day of street passing, and then it just died, and I couldn't street pass anymore, which
Oh, that's
really was a
tragic.
huge bummer. So yeah, future reference, 3DS chargers don't work with those converters, so
Damn.
I see.
you'll be disappointed if you try.
I think with me, I have had two amazing experiences, both with Delta hotels. So one was in the States, and one was here. So one was at last year's DTAC, and they just kind of upgraded us to like a nice suite where we had a master bedroom and then another room with a kitchenette, and that was just great. And it was just a really nice, clean hotel. It wasn't really super fancy, but the fact that our room was really nice, I think, was great.
That's one thing to always ask for, where maybe not work. It might not work at a convention, but if you're staying at a hotel and they have vacancies, sometimes you can get a free upgrade just if
Yeah.
you ask like the staff members. And a lot of tips I've read online is tip, tip, tip. Like the more you tip, the more nice they're gonna be to you, and you're gonna be able to get extra room keys if you're like room stuffing.
Wait, who am I supposed to tip?
You could tip the people
Everyone.
at the lobby, like
Like at the desk?
yeah. It's kind
Are
of
you supposed
awkward.
to? That's really weird.
It's kind of like a case by case basis, but these are people who work at hotels who've actually suggested this
Okay,
as
they
well.
Okay,
just want money
I
there,
have
right?
heard that if you get like turn down service, like if you want a maid coming into your room, then you're supposed to leave some money.
Okay, I
for-
get that. Yeah, that's
Like-
fine.
Like,
Yeah.
Actually, like in response to that, what my mom and I did when we went to Guyana this summer, which is just really north tip of South America, we stayed in the nicest hotel, and it's kind of a third-ish world country, so it's not it's probably like a moderate hotel. But we would leave like bracelets. We would leave like we brought all this like nice jewelry, like, and it was probably cheap here, but it was very nice there. And we brought a lot of like really nice things, and we'd leave it for our maids so that they
That's
can just
cute.
like and we had a really great time at that hotel. It was super great. But the second Delta hotel I stayed at, which was in the States, it was downtown Seattle, so super nice location. My window was huge, and like my roommate for the convention, since I was working, she couldn't go, so I had 2 double beds to myself, and I just like
Did you just push them together to make one ginormous
one
bed?
was my swag bed, and then the other was my sleeping bed. So my other, I would just like play with all my like fun things that I'd get at the convention that
Play
day.
with your Legos.
Essentially, and then I had a nice mini fridge, and so I'd go get fresh fruit at like the harbor and like
Oh my
fresh stuff, and then bring it back to my room, and just like it was amazing.
Seattle
It's awesome.
is
That is-
seriously one of the best city I've ever been to.
It's so
so
wonderful.
good. It's
And
amazing.
The fact that I didn't have to pay for the hotel was also really nice,
Oh my
but
God.
that was
I'm
definitely
from Vancouver. It's like not as nice.
It's,
It's only
not?
2 hours away. Like the weather is like the climate is the same,
Yeah.
but like the shops we have here, like we have in Vancouver, and like everything is just not as hip,
Hey,
not as modern.
Okay, just on a
Not
non
as cool.
sequitur, how would you compare Vancouver and Toronto?
In what like
Like,
uh,
do you prefer one of the other?
I think the people here are much more interesting.
Okay.
And the people in Vancouver are just more boring in comparison.
Yeah,
But the city here is just nicer. There are more things to do,
and we have more conventions.
and you have more conventions. But the climate there is just amazing. Like the weather,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I have never seen like more than an inch of snow in Vancouver.
Aren't there like
ever. And it's
palm
always
trees?
like between it's always between like 5 degrees to like 20 degrees. Always.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I swear I saw a picture once of like palm trees in one of the
I-
parks.
I'm sure they have some.
Yeah.
there.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about was if you've ever stayed at like a nice hotel, like I'm talking like a fancy old-fashioned hotel, versus just a normal, like a Sheraton, for a convention particularly. Has anyone done that?
I've stayed in like a really fancy, like business classy, swanky hotel when I was in Boston for PAX East.
Yeah.
So can't remember what it was called, but it was beautiful. Like you walk in the lobby, so nice. It was really old school too. They had like crystal chandeliers and everything. However, the room was not as nice as I thought it was gonna be. It was old style, but it didn't mean that was comfy. The mattress was pretty old style too. So.
I can kind of relate to that because one year at, I think, Fan Expo, I stayed at the Royal York. So the Royal York is like a really fancy, old-fashioned hotel that's right across from the Union Station.
Yeah, that question seemed very specific, so I knew you had a story to follow.
You know what? The room was so tiny, and our view was basically... No, actually, the view was all right, but it was just a small, tiny room.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really old-fashioned. Like, you'd think they hadn't updated it in the past 70 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
So
I felt that way about the plumbing in my room. I remember when you flushed the toilet, it was so loud. Like it felt like almost industrial. Like you flushed and it was like, and it was crazy.
Yeah.
But otherwise it was okay. But there wasn't any free Wi-Fi. And there was no pool. There was maybe like a workout room, but I think there was something wrong with the hotel, there was a fire alarm that went off, and as compensation for waking us all up at 3 a.m., they gave us free Wi-Fi for the rest of our stay, and also some like nice chocolate covered strawberries.
Oh, that's very nice.
That was pretty cool, and it worked out really well.
Huh. At that last year's AN, I stayed at like. Oh, I forget what it was called. It was like Prince Edward or Prince George or something or other on whatever street it was, like King Street. And that's a hotel that's really old, but it's been updated, and the rooms were really nice. I was in like a suite with some friends that just let me sleep on the floor for like next to nothing, but it was like modern and futuristic, and our view was kind of shit, but still.
I feel like the Royal York is kind of a tourist trap.
It is, yeah.
Because it looks really nice from the outside, and so you think you'd be nice on the inside, but it just hasn't been updated in years.
I know we've been mentioning the view from the hotel room a lot, but does that actually really matter? Like, I think it enhances my stay if I have a really great view, but if I don't.
It's definitely
have
a really
view.
nice bonus.
Because I remember when I stayed at the DoubleTree, I had the International Plaza, I had a fake window. It was like a window, but then it didn't actually open to anything. Like it was just like curtains.
But you can see through them, right?
No, you just look through and then it was like curtains. There was
What?
it
That's
wasn't
so weird.
It wasn't like an actual like. It was really funny.
It's really creepy. Actually.
May as well just put like a piece of art or something instead of just faking windows.
I kind of like having a window at least. Like that's, I don't know why I want that either. Like I don't need it, but I just like to have something to look out of when I'm bored or, I'm drinking in my hotel room when I should be at a panel or something.
I think one of the cool things about staying at a really high floor at a hotel, at a convention, is just actually waking up in the morning and seeing all the convention goers going to the hotel, and you're like, oh, look, there's Naruto. And
Yeah, I was at the DoubleTree, and a friend of mine had like a view that overlooked the entire like Congress Center and all the parking lot and stuff. And it was maybe like 10 a.m. and I could see people walking towards everything. I could see the entire thing because it's a parking lot.
Yeah. It was really neat. Someone a
Convention,
couple of years ago, I think maybe 2, did a time-lapse video from the DoubleTree. They had a camera out the window and they did like a time-lapse of like the main TTC parking lot area, and it was actually really cool.
Yeah, that's another thing. I have a GoPro and I'd like to do a time-lapse of a convention, hopefully Anime North if I get something with a view, but probably not. But
you really request a view.
Yeah, you can do that. I wonder if they charge you more for that because it's like an inconvenience for them to deal with that sort of thing. But yeah, I like a view. Anyways, I think we've pretty much hit everything in terms of the hotel topic. So we're gonna wrap it up. I hope you liked our first episode. It was we did the best we could.
Thank you all for listening.
Yeah. I've been Pat,
I'm Mars.
I'm still Rachel.
John.
and thanks for listening to our podcast, I guess.